Welcome to the Stay Hungry podcast. Today, we are joined by Stephan Bajaio. Hopefully I got that name right.
Got it. You got it.
Did I?
You
Okay,
did.
thank you guys for that. But I brought you on here because you have now spent over 20 years in SEO and marketing. You've been in boardrooms at FedEx, Uber, John Hopkins, and you co-founded your own company that sold to WeWork. And now you're on this new mission to bring back the human side back to marketing. So you've done quite a bit here. But to start things off, take us back to where all of this started for you personally.
Wow.
Well, that's quite the question, right? It's quite the question to begin
I was
things.
born on a Tuesday.
Well, now y'all know that, right?
Raining in the 1970s. Now,
There we go.
Well, all good questions. So let's step back, Matthew, to the beginning. I get my start like as a kid in New York City whose dad is an immigrant, doesn't really know sports, doesn't really know like the traditional American stuff, is a guy who learned English, at night classes while he took his Pratt Institute of Design for architecture, kind of like, years of courses while working, right? So very different kind of thing than the average individual. But the reason I bring that up is because my dad had this love of technology. So he's like bringing home some of the first personal computers, and I'm kind of like being exposed to this stuff super early. So as that happens, I'm lucky enough that with the network he has of people that he'd helped build, offices for and so forth, he knew all these people, and I would get my first internships. And so I'd get one internship, and it was like literally at one point it was the first banner ads on the internet. Like the internet doesn't even exist at this point. We're talking like 1996. And like we're putting banner ads on like astronomy.com. Nobody even knows what that is, right? Email doesn't even really exist at this point. Like we're really early, right? So long story long, fast forward, I ended up working at this company called US Interactive during the dot-com boom and bust. I'm a junior in college. I've worked there on and off every single break I had. The summer, the winter breaks, everything I could get my hands on, I was always working for them. And the cool part was when I first got there were like 30 people. And by the time we were all said and done, they were like 500 people.
Wow.
And and during that time, like money was no object. I was literally billing as an intern going into the office from Westchester. On the train, I was billing like a lawyer, like my hours. And they were billing me like $270 an hour or whatever for like a kid not even out of school. They tried to convince me to quit American University in DC and come up to New York where I was. And I would take like finish classes at night, and they would pay for all of it and give me a nice salary that would make my friends' heads spin. And I'd get to be a part of this. Now, everyone kind of knows how the dot-com boom and bust, kind of the bust portion of that bubble happened in 2000, right? So what happens there is they IPO at $10. I see the guy that I frankly loved and was a mentor make and lose $40 million. I had like a little bit of money, $1,000 at the time. And I spent my $1,000 on a computer. Well, actually, no, I didn't have enough for a computer at the time. Computers were way more expensive than that. And we're talking like a
massive, huge computer, right?
Laptops hardly exist. In fact, I worked PC buyer's guide at one point as a job, which was cool. I was like an intern at an editorial, but like I literally started reviewing CD games. Like the first, they didn't even know what games were, and I'm like, "Will you let me write?" And they're like, "Okay, we'll pay you 25 cents a word." I'm like, "Cool. Do I get to keep the games?" They're like, "Yes." Awesome. Like it was great. I was getting video games for free. And long story long. So I end up in this dot-com boom and bust. I have this $1,000. I put it in on the market. I never traded. I'm not under any like blackout periods because I'm just an intern.
Right.
I got out at $32. So I
From the
doubled
1,000. Oh my
from my,
goodness.
so like, no, like my stock was $10. It went to 32.
I
So
see.
now I just basically tripled my money or doubled it.
Shoot.
And so I have $3,000. I can buy a computer. In the meantime, this guy makes and loses 40 million because it goes up to 110 and then it all crashes, right? So I saw what it was like when an industry would overextend itself. I saw what it was like when money was no object. I saw what all that looked like. And I got to see that before I even graduated school. And I got to see it to people I loved and cared about, people I worked alongside, people who I learned from. So it really set a tone in my mind as to like, one, you never count your money until it's in the bank. Okay. And even then it's going to get taxed. Two, like you make sure that you don't, if you're going to expand a business and scale. I was the kid who frankly had too big a mouth on him, not in a bad way, but literally went into a GM's office at the time when I was still an intern and asked, how can we afford to focus on all these different kinds of clients? Like in one case, we have an e-commerce like RCA.com, and then we're dealing with some kind of B2B over here. And then we have like a Japanese website we're working on over here and a German one over here. And they're all different industries. And like, shouldn't we just like focus and be really amazing at one of these things? And he was like, no, we got to take the money. It's a time for grabbing, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying had we done that, we would have survived.
But
But
maybe, right? Potentially.
they definitely overextended themselves.
Right.
There were offices in Singapore, in London, in Hong Kong, in LA, in San Francisco, in New York, in King of Prussia. Like money was no object and we were spending it like it was going out of style. Right. And so those were learnings. Like those were definite learnings for me in the early world. Now, how do I get into search? I'm working at Yahoo. I'm an account manager on big accounts, like literally some super huge names like Siemens and other stuff, but it's like the job board version. So it's like hot jobs and that kind of stuff, but it's paid ads and it's job posts and things like that. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And it's cool that I get to present to these people and I learn to be in front of clients and kind of pseudo sell, even though I'm an account manager. So I'm not selling anymore, but I'm on what's called the majors team. And after a while, I get kind of tired. And the thing I get really tired about with corporate is I feel like I'm always yelling into the void. Like I literally came up with a way. I didn't even know HTML at the time. Not that I do now, but I kind of taught myself enough HTML because I was talking to all these companies and I'm like, hey, can we, do like branded, they were like, if you could create a branded job posting for us, like with our colors and our logo and whatever else on it, which sounds really kind of, I hate to say idiotic, but it kind of was like.
Back then you're saying it was to do that?
It was like, duh, right? But
well, now it is for sure.
And I'm like, oh yeah, we could put links to the different parts of your website. So if it's a diversity candidate, they can click on that and go to the diversity page. And if it's about benefits, they can go to your benefits page. And here's the cool part. We can put a link in there that'll actually track whether they click on one of those things. So you'll start to understand your audience better and blah, 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 blah. And I even knew and had created mock-ups using our job postings to show management, be like, I have these guys willing to pay more money for the job post if we're willing to just do this. And I know how to do it. Like, here it is. And good luck trying to get that past a manager, let alone to a director, let alone to a VP, let alone to somebody who could sign off. And it was that kind of thing that I experienced in corporate that made me go like, I enjoy the name. There's some vanity to being able to say you work at Time Inc., you work at Yahoo, you've worked for Entertainment Weekly, or you've done this and this and that, or In Style magazine. Wonderful. But the reality is, at the end of the day, like, were you being fulfilled by the work you were doing? And I'm an ideas person who likes to kind of throw things out there and get them going. And I was just yelling into the void. So all of a sudden, I saw a lot of the top people I knew from Yahoo made it over to this little company called Lake Experts. And I was like, I have no idea who they are, but one of them was like, hey, you should check out the company, come in, we're hiring for account management positions, da, da, da. I said, if I can take a managerial position, I'll do it. So went over there, had an amazing interview. This guy, Seth Besmernick, amazing dude. And it was a link building business. It literally was. AT&T is a client on this side. Forbes is a client on this side. AT&T wants to rank better for the word iPhone because back in the day, they were the only ones who carried the iPhone, believe it or not. They want to make sure that when you search Google and you look up iPhone, you don't find another company, you find them. Okay. So Forbes, AT&T wants to put a link on your site. Are you cool with it? Yes. AT&T, Forbes would be willing to give you a link at $500, per month for that link. Yes. Cool. Let's do it. And you would basically build these campaigns that allow them to do that. Now, that was very frowned upon by Google. Google was not a fan of this.
Was it really? Why?
Because paid link building has always been something they frown upon, because what they don't want, I just gave you an example of a really credible site and a really credible site. What happens is you don't want non-credible sites to start buying links and ranking for stuff they shouldn't rank for. So
I see.
We actually gave up more money in the process. We took less clients. In fact, we turned down more money because what we'd have is we had what we call the quality czar, and he would turn down your deals. He'd be like, nope, that bottle of wine is $50 and you're trying to rank for a term cheap wines. $50 is not a cheap wine, therefore we're not going to sell the link. Well, but we would have made like $2,000 off that over the span of a year. Nope, sorry, not doing it. And we would just keep doing that. So we were trying to be as judicious and wise as possible. Now, the really interesting part of this story, I think, again, I gave you a lot based off one question, so you have to cut me off and jump in as you want. But the really interesting part was that I didn't know SEO at the time. Like I had no clue what SEO was. Now, it's funny because today, humble brag, whatever, I'm on a few lists that say top SEOs, New York, people you should follow, blah, 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 blah. But somehow I make it from like guy who doesn't even know anything about search to 14 years later, well now 20 something years later, considered somewhat of an influencer. We'll just say that. Like,
right.
The minute you start believing your press is the moment you're on your downfall. So I'm not one for compliments and I'm not one for like my own. Anyway, I'll spare your audience. But what was so interesting was I now had access to these people as my clients. So Marriott, the guy who runs SEO at Marriott, I get to call him, Jeff Gold at the time, and be like, Jeff, hey, I'm Stephan, blah, blah, we become friends. And he's telling me, well, I believe that Google's doing this right now and that, and this is how you rank better, and this is what we're trying. And then I'm hanging up with Jeff, and then I'm picking the phone up and I'm talking to Jochen over at Siemens, and he's telling me, well, I'm thinking it's this, this, and this, and I'm seeing this, and da-da-da-da. And I'm hanging up the phone and I'm talking to Nate over at Hayneedle, and they're an e-commerce massive. And he's telling me what he thinks. And then I'm going, well, I heard, without saying it was Jeff, I heard so on and so forth. And he says, well, I like that, or I don't like that. And I'm calling Jeff back and being like, hey, dude, just so you know, those links are going through. And I recently heard da-da-da-da-da-da-da, Nate, whatever Nate just told me. And so I'm playing this game of telephone and I'm starting to notice themes, right? I'm starting to notice things that are constant. They all feel like they're alone on their own island. They all, even though they're at these massive companies, they're all undervalued. No one really knows what they're doing. They don't know how to, half the time, some of them did, but like transfer their knowledge into exec. So they can speak tech, but they don't speak exec. So all of these problems are kind of happening. And we're looking at this and, links are becoming a thing and Google's knocking it and they're starting to make this a real problem. And this seems weird and doesn't, even though we're doing $1 million a month of recurring revenue.
Wow.
And we've grown to like 70 some odd people. When I got there, we were like 20. So we grew in about a year and a half, but it was a thing where it's like, is this business viable in the future? And then the second part was like the reports that my team, the account management team, was giving to these massive Fortune 500 Internet Retailer 1000 clients was an Excel spreadsheet.
Really? That was it? Wow.
And so like Seth scratches his head and he's like, this smells like an opportunity. Like, do these guys really not have something to check that the sheet we're giving them in Excel is accurate? Like they're spending $50,000 a month on something and they don't have anything better than my word and someone fat thumbing a rank into an Excel spreadsheet. That's wild, right? And so that was kind of the eye-opening moment of Conductor, which is the second iteration. So we sold off the business, we sold off the set of people, and this is where it gets interesting, I think. At that point, about 20 to 30 people are left in the company, in this new constituted company called Conductor. Seth gives everyone shares of the company, like token shares. It wasn't like, and then gives us all co-founder titles. Now,
Can you do that for 30 people?
yeah, you could do it
Yeah.
for 1,000 people if you really want to. It doesn't mean anything. I can give you the title of
Fair enough.
VP of PP if you want, but it doesn't
Right.
mean anything, right?
Gotcha.
That's what my head of product used to call it. So I've got this title, right? And I'm thinking to myself, well, it's pretty damn cool. And it's the beginning of something big. Now, do I think I'm going to stay there for the next 12 years? Because at that point, I'm 2 years in. So now we're 14 years into the time in total. I'm like, no, I don't know that, but I know I want to make this thing grow. And I know that I'm in this alongside some really great people. So as much as that might have been a ploy to keep us all at the company or whatever, and people left, title or no title, they left and whatever else. And ultimately what happens is I say, screw that. I'm going to take this title and I'm going to own it. I'm going to own it so much that I try to work towards it every single day, as if this is my company. And by the way, we got more shares over time and we became much more vested. And there's a time and place where I'm left as one of maybe 4 co-founders in the company.
From the 30, really? Wow.
Yeah, years later. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And by the way, they would later call everyone a co-founder, and we bought our company back from WeWork, and it wasn't the point. The point was I saw this as an opportunity, not an opportunity to wave a title around, but rather I knew the title would help me drive towards the goal of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. So I said, what if this was my own company? Like, what if this really was? What if this really could lead to a financial windfall? What if I could build stuff given the opportunity? And Seth was really always great in that he would always challenge me. So if I said, hey, we need a team to go do upsells because the account management team can't do it themselves right now, they're too busy doing X, Y, and Z. He'd say, prove it. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, go do it yourself. Well, I'm like, well, I'm running a team right now, but show me that there's money there. We'll do it. So I'd go and I'd find a way to work that into my schedule and prove it out and then come back and say, look. And that's how our strategic account director team was created. And then the next thing that happened after that was we were like doing this growth team that was making money and doing all that stuff. And then it's like, hey, we have an SEO platform, but we don't really have that many SEOs in house. What do we do about all these people that are buying this very expensive product and don't have anyone to like drive the car, so to speak? I'm giving you a race car, a Ferrari, and handing it to people that half the time it's a 16-year-old with a learner's permit. So are they really going to invest in a Ferrari? So the idea was, okay, well, what if we could create a professional services group? So first thing we had to do was like keywords. What keywords go into the product? We thought clients would know everything they want to track, but they had crazy ideas. AT&T wanted to show up for the word networking. I once told my client, I said, Terry, over my dead body. She's like, what? I go, Terry, why would you want us to rank for networking? She goes, it has 59,000 searches a month on average. Awesome. Now, have you looked at what's actually showing up for those? Like, what do you mean? LinkedIn, you're like literally AT&T Enterprise. You're not looking to rank for networking like networking us. Home networking, so setting up your home router, these are not the droids you're looking for, right? Like there was so many things that were completely erroneous, and a lot of clients in general, not to knock her, she was amazing, but so many clients just saw search volume and they were like, oh, we have to show up for that. It was vanity. It was like, I want to be on the top of Mount Everest. Yeah, except a lot of people die trying to do that, and most people don't summit. So like maybe
Right.
we should think about this a little bit differently. Maybe we should start learning about long tail terms. Maybe we should. So long story longer, I took 2 kids pretty much straight out of school and we started a keyword team to start figuring out what word should go in the product. When we did that, we sold it. And in the
Mhm.
first quarter of selling it, 87% of new business deals adopted it.
Wow.
At that point, we're like, what are we doing? This isn't worth it. This should be a part of the onboarding. So whoop, that went away. And then the next thing was like, okay, what do we do with pro services? Like, what else do we build? And so that team became the largest team and probably one of the most successful teams I built at the company. We ended up being 65 global SEOs. We ran all of WeWork's SEO for a while before they ended up buying us. That was interesting. We
Wait,
were,
so question, why sell it then? Because it was like going great for you, right?
well, I mean, listen, it was going great, but at the same time, like at that point, it had been through so many rounds of funding.
Fair enough.
So like Seth's share of it wasn't this massive thing anymore. There were a lot of investors who wanted money out at some point. We had money to burn, and the potential there was so huge in terms of where could they use us, how could they deploy us, what could they do? Could they walk us into enterprise clients? Could we service smaller clients? Where exactly could we fit and help? And again, Adam was making moves in ways, shapes, and forms that were like, sometimes I questioned them, but honestly, I loved the guy. I thought he was, he had such a magnetism about him that I was okay with it. I mean, I, the first time we pitched Adam just to become our client, I ended up sleeping underneath an exit sign in my office. I didn't have an office. We had a massive floor, right, with desks in rows. No cubicles, just like. And I found a beanbag. I found a beanbag chair and pulled it over my desk, put my legs up on the chair, laid back in the beanbag, and got about an hour of horrendous sleep under the red light of an exit sign before I had to go pick up Seth at his apartment. And the reason why was I was done with the deck by 4 a.m. the morning of
Gosh.
pitch, of course, like any good procrastinator, right?
Right.
And I couldn't go back to, I think at the time I had a house in Stamford, Connecticut, so I couldn't do the 2-hour commute home, let alone come back in time for the meeting. It's pointless. You couldn't get a hotel room at 4 a.m. That also doesn't really exist. So I'm just like, okay, screw it. So one time I slept at the office, in all fairness, but it fits for the story. I mean,
It sounds cool, right? Because you're selling
sounds
them,
great.
so
I
it
mean,
does sound great for
you're
like
gonna do
story.
it for something that turns into something like that, which is really cool. And, and it was really interesting. Like we got to live the WeWork life for a hot second. It was about a year and 6 months, let's say. But it was like, it was crazy. It was wild. It was like tethering yourself to a rocket ship, you know? For context, they became a client a year before that, right? So think like 2.5 years probably with WeWork. And in year one, like when Seth and I were invited to go out to their annual conference. We were the only two there was about 3,000 people in Los Angeles. Like they've proven all their employees. That 3,000 at the time. By the time we left at their height, I think they had 13,500 employees, and that's like 2 years later.
So it grew quite a bit then, for sure.
Dude, it doubled / tripled, quadrupled, right? And that was wild. That's one of the reasons I think they couldn't succeed was that literally they'd hire amazing people, but all of those amazing people who were VP of whatever at PayPal and eBay and so on and so forth, and had done all these amazing things, every room they went into, they were the new person in the room. And you were looking for tribal knowledge, like who knows how this all works. And there wasn't much of that there because anyone who did have that tribal knowledge was few and far between and not always in the room with everyone else. They weren't mixed into everyone. It wasn't like make sure there's somebody who's been here for, 2 years to be in every one of the meetings with all these new people. So these new people were just meeting each other. Every meeting I went to at WeWork, there was someone new in the room. I liked it, and they were all very smart and capable, but it doesn't mean there was a strategy. It meant that everyone was bringing their own baggage to some degree and knowledge, depending on where they were at in their careers and whatever. I think they all wanted to see success. But I mean, listen, there's a lot of people there. It was Grand Central Station, literally. Like, you know.
Right. So they bought it from you, and then it kind of like tanked from that point, it sounds like, right?
Well, I mean, I think what happens there, and not to get into all the details, but like we go in and we start helping them with different projects and different things we can do, and we're still running our business, right? And things are progressing and we're growing. And at that point, you know, there's stuff that goes on with the S1 and the public filing. But we'd already seen that, like, forget downfall. It just wasn't making sense. Like, where the business sat and what we were able to do, there wasn't like a plan. It wasn't like, well, there might have been a plan. I don't know. But the point is,
Work out anyway. Yeah.
it wasn't evident, and it wasn't an easy way to lock us into their business. There were some ways I'd come up with and others had come up with that I think were pretty damn ingenious that could have maybe changed some of the dynamics at WeWork.
Mhm.
But again, they were doing so much and they were trying. Adam really did want to change the world. That was his mantra. Like,
Wow.
and when someone wants to do something that bold, they make big bets, and they make big bets in lots of different places. And so, you know, I was literally in rooms where, you know, one of like Miguel would say like how much he enjoyed watching the ballet at Lincoln Center and like seeing people dancing and this amazing experience from outside. Like he just saw a studio, and he was saying how captivating it was. And like literally the head of operations is like, do you want us to set up a WeWork dance studio? Like we could do that. Like we could build that. And
It's kind of random, right?
no, but that's the
Off
point.
brand there.
Like, the point
Exactly.
is, like, there was no
Yeah.
lack of good intention. There just wasn't always, because money really wasn't as much of an object in that regard. You could let your creativity fly, but it didn't fly in the same direction always. So therefore, there was a lot of air traffic control. And I don't know who was charged with the airplanes. Let me put it to you that way. But did
Yeah.
that happen? No, they didn't go off and build that. But again, that's how ideas germinated, got spit around and whatever, which made for a really cool culture. I got to be honest with you. The idea of having the freedom of being like, hey, now granted, he's one of the co-founders, but I could have said something like that in the room, and very much, not to say 1,000 ships would have been sent off to, you know, out of the harbor, because
But something would have probably been sent off.
but like
So
the idea, if good enough, could have been picked up, and we had these safe spaces, so to speak, that we could just air and share ideas and think bigger and not let the constraints of the past hold us back for the future. They built
right.
We Live, which was like a co-working / live space. They had a school, which was like very Montessori-like, where kids were able to go there and really learn in a different way. I mean, they really did. And they didn't just hire like anyone. They were really going out and getting some amazing teachers and some wonderful administrators and people to like make a difference. So they weren't really, you know, messing around. They were trying. It wasn't for a lack of effort. I think it might have been a lack of direct focus. But again, I was just one small piece of a very large pot.
Which is fair. So they're failing. You then buy them back, which is that like a good choice, you think, to buy them then back from that? You
1,000%.
think
The
so?
business
Okay.
at that point, our business is not valued as much as it was going in, right?
So you almost saved cash then by buying it back for that
Well,
purchase.
by buying it back,
sounds
it's
like.
valued differently, and we
Right.
we buy it, you know, we buy it back. Seth makes the move properly, gets, you know, the right people invested, buys it back for the co-founders, and then says, okay, we're distributing shares among all the, like, I don't want to say a cooperative, but a good purchase back.
Right.
And we're gonna go and we're gonna make this thing everything it should be. And he just reinvents it, as Seth does, because he's amazing at that, and goes after it. And we all charge with him, and we all feel a sense of ownership, and we've all, you know, kind of signed up for the, hey, I know it's been a long slog to get here, but we're going to go through this next episode. And we do. And then we get valued at what? A little bit over $500 million as a valuation. It's great. We get this nice, Times Square, logo and whatever else, like they do. It's great. And then over time, it just, it's my turn to kind of bounce. In between then, I did something was kind of cool. I was Chief Evangelist. So that sounds like a weird, like my mom was like, "Are you becoming religious?" And I'm like, no, it's got nothing to do with religion, Mom. It's basically the idea of I built a team of about 7 people that was devoted to field marketing, client marketing, brand marketing, and thought leadership. So we took that and we said, okay, this isn't about selling, it's about solving. So we had a mantra at Conductor, which I still believe and still say on almost every podcast I'm ever on. I have a t-shirt I tend to wear that says, if you're not helping people, you're just selling stuff. We believe that marketers aren't in the business. I don't think a lot of marketers wake up in the morning going, yeah, I get to sell more shit. I just
right. Probably not.
I don't think that gives you dopamine. I don't think that's the essence and the passion that drives you on a Monday, right? I do think, however, if they could solve people's problems, whether that problem is finding the right oncologist so cancer can get potentially cured or put into remission, like a Johns Hopkins situation, or they're just trying to figure out how to ship a live animal somewhere else and FedEx comes through, right? Or they're thinking about how they could book cars for an event and Uber shows up as an option.
Right.
That's solving people's problems, not selling to them, right? Yes, could they buy? Sure. But are you giving them the idea? Are you providing the opportunity? Are you really trying to solve before you sell? That's always a big, if you learn from the page on FedEx about shipping live animals and you don't ship it with FedEx, that's okay with FedEx. FedEx just got a solid +1 in your mind for being the one that helped you understand that. Now, if you end up shipping animals multiple times, you might think of FedEx again. And when you do, you might buy, right? But it's not like I got to grab you now because you just paid attention, right?
Well, you have all those like touch points of like they touched you here and there, and like eventually the whole sell happened maybe down the road, like a few years from that point.
Yes. Tell me on the web where they touched you. Yeah.
Well, that phrasing.
No. But like in all fairness, I know that could be a clip, but like in all fairness, when you think about it, Google has this theory called the 7-11-4 rule, which is this concept of in order to build loyalty / like brand, some kind of brand affinity, you have to have had 7 hours worth of engagement with a brand.
Hours, really?
Across potentially 11 touch points across 4 mediums. So 4 channels. That could be YouTube. You watched a video. It was sponsored by them, or it doesn't literally mean I was watching, an hour on insurance from State Farm, right? It just means I took part in content and things that took time from your thought process, and I was there and I was part of that exposure.
That's right now, because like back then it was a lot more simple to get like a customer, correct, for the whole like SEO world.
Well, yes. Okay, let's be fair. Here's a funny old story. George W. Bush had his profile page on whitehouse.gov show up for the term miserable failure. Now, you search Google, miserable failure, you find his White House profile #1 result. How does that happen? Well, it doesn't say miserable and it doesn't say failure on that page. So how did the web and how did Google interpret that this page was about that topic? At the time, simple. Hard, but simple. If enough people put links on the web that said miserable failure and pointed it to this one page, Google had no other, and also no one's trying to rank for the term miserable failure. So it's not like someone's optimizing for it. So in the choice of every single web page in the universe that Google can get its hands on, there are a lot of people pointing signals. This is called a Google bomb, not able to be done today. So don't anyone get too crazy. Step back from the keyboard. But like that set off in showing up for miserable failure. The anchor text, which is the blue text or whatever that used to be blue and underlined, hypertext we called it, that went to the page, otherwise known as anchor text, was saying miserable failure enough that it ranked. Funnier story, found out from someone who used to run SEO at Disney, they showed up for the word exit. Why would Disney show up for exit? Well, there are a certain set of sites, Matthew, that are adult in nature, and while they have an enter if you're 18 and over, they have to point the exit somewhere, and developers think it's really funny to point all of those links to Disney. So Disney ranked for exit. Haphazardly, not on purpose. Who's trying to show up for the word exit? Nobody. But the internet said so that's what happened.
Well, that would probably fix that. It's a little more complicated now with the whole process for SEO and the steps there, right?
I mean, SEO isn't really even SEO anymore. It is SEO. Unfortunately, everyone's calling it AO, GO, AIO.
Which is maybe accurate because it's part of that process.
Yeah, but you know what it really is? The O is the most important portion of that, and it's optimization, right? The A number one is like, have you looked at your own stuff, like your own website today? And 9 times out of 10, if I look at someone's site, I could probably dig deeper into something they're treating as a bullet point that's someone's entire existence or reason to go to the website. I'll give you a prime example. Let's say you're a therapy clinic and you have a grief page about grief. Okay. So you talk about grief counseling. Do you talk about losing a parent? Okay. If you do, and someone's lost a parent, do you think you should be a bullet point? Losing a family member? Is that what we're going to say? Is that really the term? Isn't it just specifically a parent? Or a sibling could be another thing? Or a child? That's not even natural, like in the course of the way things work. How about a pet? Right?
Right.
All of these things, someone might search specifically looking for, like, I want therapy for the loss of a pet. Should they only get a bullet point on your page as the result when they get your page ranks number 1, they go there and then they just see this little bullet point that says loss of a pet? Is that you're a therapy clinic? Is that what you want to emote? Is that what you want to connect?
Well, definitely not.
Right. So the point is, when people are in need, some of the worst need they might be having, God forbid the loss of a child, something horrendous, they're searching, right? I say no one lies to their search bar. So whether that search bar is an AI, it's Google, wherever people have a need, they're going to express that need. And they're going to use their own terms to do it. Half the time, businesses don't understand those terms, so they don't use those terms, so they miss the connection. And the other half of the time, they may know those terms, but they don't give of themselves enough and in a genuine enough way to deserve to rank for it and ultimately earn that client, that patient, that next purchase, that next thing, right? So people think that they should rank for everything, which is nonsense. And they also think that they know better than anyone else, their industry, their stuff, whatever. And the truth is they might, but your jargon is not what your consumer searches. I had a guy argue with me that it was a sofa, not a couch. Here's the problem with that. 4 times more people were searching couch than sofa at the time. So I'm like, you're not going to use the word couch anywhere on your pages. Forget the title and this and that. You're just not going to do it. Why? It's a derogatory term in my space. What? How? He says, couch potato.
Oh.
Really? You're not going to sell the thing I sit on to me because you want to call it a sofa and you refuse to call it a couch? Cool. There are a lot more people searching couch and they're going to find your competitor. So if you make that decision eyes wide open, I'm good with it. I will back you. You're the client. You know your business. I'm here to give you the understanding of what we're talking about and what the potentials are and aren't and the opportunity costs. At which point you choose the road. I'm not running your business, right? So
Right.
you choose the road you want to go down, but you don't get to say ignorance is bliss because ignorance is your competitor's market share. Ignorance is what happens when your competitor somehow can afford a Super Bowl ad and you're scratching your head saying, how the hell did that happen? Right? And that's because they recognize that people are searching couch, not sofa. So,
Exactly.
and I've had literally 1,000 versions of that in enterprise SEO and frankly, all the way down to SMBs I work with that will argue with me. I argued with Adam Newman. He didn't want to call it co-working. He was like, we're not calling it co-working. I said, then I'm not going to help you rank. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, everyone searches it for it this way, Adam. If you want to change the term, we can do that, but we're going to have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to do it. Like a sick amount of money. So if you want to go make everyone call it Wooly Bully, we can. But that's not what the rest of the world talks about right now. So why fight it? Like,
Right.
it's
But
not
for
like
all
a
of your
terrible term.
ranking right now, it's all very natural. But how do you balance the natural with like the paid ads for the SEO
Well,
world?
okay, so when you think about one, paid ads are where Google made all their money. Okay, so we have
Right.
to understand that that is very loaded and has always been loaded. Paid ads are like, and I try to do this comparison of like keywords are like stocks. Okay. And stocks tend to go in portfolios. They kind of come along together. So you don't just rank for like one keyword. If you're in a stock that has to do with a certain sector, they're along with other stocks from that sector, right? Think of it like they kind of glom together. So if you're trying to rank for, I don't know, like, let's give me something you might want to rank for.
Hot dogs. I don't know.
Okay. So let's say, let's actually say, best leadership podcast.
Okay.
That would also probably rank for derivatives of that, like uh, podcast for leadership, best podcast for leadership, leadership podcast, um, uh, podcasts that teach leadership. Again, leadership doesn't even have to be the word. We can take a derivative of leadership and see if that also ranks. So, um, you know, podcasts for entrepreneurs, podcasts. And so it all kind of comes together. So when I say paid versus organic, paid is like day trading. You can literally turn it on and pay right now to rank, quote unquote, rank for a term. They want that thing to get clicked and you're going to get traffic and you get to judge if it converts or not, if your messaging worked or not. It's like a canary in the coal mine. Like, it's day trading. You are not going to retire probably on your day trading account. You're going to spend a lot of money. You're going to make a lot of money, but the spend versus the make is probably going to even itself out over time.
If you make more though from the profit of like what you like acquire, is it worth it then you think or no?
Of course it is, but like you got to remember it's an auction model.
Right.
Okay. They weren't trying to make it less people involved. It was like, let's try and make this as simple so the smallest mom and pop business can get in. And the smallest mom and pop business could be raising the price of a keyword that an enterprise is trying to rank for, like, or trying to buy. So you understand, like, literally you could be messing around with each other's prices.
It's very like pay to play for
It's
like
1000%.
sounds like.
That's what it is.
Right.
But SEO is the 401k version of that. It's not going to happen overnight. You can check it every day if you want to, but it's almost foolish to do that. I mean, I can't help myself because I kind of want to see what happened, but it's a slow, it doesn't always go straight up. It goes down and then comes back up again. And it's like the market, it goes over time. And then you could probably retire on that thing, but you have to build the authority over time. So it's a different model. They're all stocks. They all live on the same page of Google, but they're different in nature and you should use them selectively as such.
So I'm curious, like your best tip for like a very small company. They have like no funding. They can't do too much for the SEO world. Then what?
Okay. Stop thinking of it as SEO. Stop thinking about it as anything else. One, do not create content using AI and then try to make it rank. It will not rank. It will rank for a minute. You will see rankings for about a week, maybe, sometimes 2. Some people have gone away with about a month. You will see every chart I can show you, they all drop. And if they don't drop, it's just a matter of time. You're sitting on a house of cards. Don't do it.
Why?
Don't do, because it's simple as this. AIs look at what ranks best when they consider how to respond. If what they look at is AI generated, then it's just a snake eating its own tail.
Do you mean like blogs, like the whole like writing process?
Like, okay,
What do you
the
mean?
top 10 blogs for a result, best podcast, are all AI generated. I literally just put in prompts and we all put the easy button and pressed it, and boom, it's on the web. And you have them on your site and I have them on my site and everybody has them, right? Okay.
Right.
So now ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, they're all trying to figure out best podcasts on the web. And they go to these articles and they're like, they know they're watermarked, that they're actually written, because you can tell mathematically they're written using AI. I'm not going to use that. If I use that, what if it's wrong?
So you're very pro-human.
Citing AI, and you would just have this verse.
Right.
Google has actively said, do not do this. They've actively said they want humans behind content. They want to be able to prove that there's actually a person behind it, that you're willing to take the time and effort it takes. That doesn't mean don't use an AI. You can use AI in marketing. You absolutely should. In fact, I would give you 100 ways you could use it. But right now, what I'd say is if it comes to a small company, that's not where you need to focus your effort. You thinking about LLMs and showing up in chat and all that stuff. It's like, whoa. Slow down.
It's hard for like, scaling wise though, because scaling wise, it takes then more time for like the people side to like make that content for that small company.
It sure does. But here's what you do. One piece of content should be worth a lot of things to your business if you do it right. This is not new. This is Gary Vee. This is everyone, right? Gary Vaynerchuk will say this, use all parts of the animal, right? If I create, okay, let's do this right now, live in person, as they say, fuck it, we'll do it live.
Okay.
So here we are. Matthew's got a podcast. He's got Stephan Bajaio on, and I've waxed poetic now for like, I don't know. How long has it been? 40 something minutes, 47 minutes. Okay, cool. He's got 47 minutes worth of transcribable content, not just video clips. So from this one asset, he has video clips that he takes and he uses them in social to draw people to 1, the episode itself, 2, the podcast in general, 3, if he asks me questions that he asked his other guests, right? Then he gets an answer from every guest around a topic. He's not just doing deep, which would be lateral, vertical. He is going horizontal now by taking the clip of me answering that, and 3 other folks. He's got a video clip montage he can do of the answers to that. He can also take the transcription of this, put together a transcription of this. I wouldn't take it straight out. I'd take it to a human, have the editor go through it, connect the thoughts, because the way someone speaks is not the way someone writes. So take those out. There are quotables in here. God knows I gave a few of them. Where on the internet did they touch
yes,
you? Whatever.
Yes.
That in of itself is a viral quote that you put on a social piece of content where just the words, your logo, and you slap that shit everywhere you can. Instagram, Pinterest if you have it with a link back, and you hope that gets picked up. Right? You're out there doing all the multi-channel stuff you're supposed to do. In the meantime, by the way, remember I told you we asked that same question to the 5 people? Well, the 5 people get a roundup, and that roundup now cites those people on LinkedIn in an article that then has links to them where they're getting tagged in it. Now they're coming back and engaging with what you do. 1 podcast episode, right? Okay. So the more you can make that process automated, the more you can automate the steps between all the stuff I just talked about, helping with the editing, right? What are the clips? Opus Clip is something that does that. Descript is another product that does that. Riverside, I believe, has some AI in it that helps you identify what are the social snips and how do you do it faster. This is where you use AI, but the idea is, okay, in a world where an easy button is accessible to everyone, you don't win by pressing the easy button. You win by using the data and the knowledge that you as a business have, whether it's internal knowledge about the way your customer thinks, cares, what are the problems they have, all of that stuff, and create content that solves for it so that you will always be considered, right? You can't be considered for something you don't have. If you're not mentioning it, if you don't talk about pet grief counseling, you could say you do it. You could tell everyone on the block you do this. But if the internet doesn't confirm that, and the first step to confirmation is the one you control the most, your own website.
Right.
So is it a paragraph or a page or a pass? Right? That's what I do. I sit there and I go, is this an additional paragraph? Cool, let's put it there. If that's enough, cool, let's see if Google reacts to it and we rank well for it.
This takes time, though. I'm curious, how do you balance speed and like the scaling, though? Because
you're not
years,
doing it
probably.
for a channel. You're not doing it for a channel. If I create something really good, okay, let's take the same example I just gave you about the grief for the idea for the pet grief. Let's say we're a therapy clinic and we realize that a lot of people come to us for this. Or there's a very large market for it and it's untapped. No one is doing it well. Okay, we're hearing about it. There's a lot of people. We're in an area with lots of dog parks, lots of people who love their pets, a lot of money's getting spent on pets and so forth. There's a really high sign that when pets pass away, there are people that are going to have issues with that. Fair. We've now said that there is a market. All right, cool. Now that we know this, and to your point about, is it harder and takes longer? Watch what we do. So you build your pet page. That's one page. You're going to need it. You're going to need a page about the topic. You're going to have it. Cool. Where's the supporting documentation? How do you prove that you are more than what you say you are, right? Having a page isn't the only thing you're going to do. So you write an article about talking to your kids, 5 ways to talk to your kids about the loss of a pet. Is that useful? Sure it is. Could that be sent out in an email to all of your current therapy clients right now? Sure. Could it add value to them or someone they know? Sure. Okay, cool. So I just built something not for nothing, but I actually just built something for a reason. Now, the second piece might be, when is too much grief too much? Help identify when someone's actually having the problem you solve for, right? Again, not selling, solving. So I created another page. Now you're saying, oh my God, he's building all these pages. What are we going to do with that? Watch. One more. Why there's so much stigma about pet grief? People that don't have pets don't get it. Why are you so down? It's not like a person died, right? Okay. That's the kind of unfortunate shit that people who lose pets hear from other people they care about, which is crazy. It's like the one loss that people are allowed to kind of be like, you don't deserve, your grief is nonsense, right? Like who would do that? Someone loses a parent or a kid or a family member. No one's doing that to you, but in this case they can. Okay. So we write these 3 articles. Now we have these 3 articles right here. Okay. Should I just wait around for them to rank? Hell no. Package those things up into a PDF or something like that. Send them out to all your current clients. Get your ass out of your office. Go find every single vet office within a 20-mile radius of your business and say, I know that when you guys put down pets, which you unfortunately have to do every single day, you don't have more than a bag of ashes and a hug to give those people. So we built this brief here that frankly has the thing about telling your kids about the loss of the pet and how to talk to them about it, how to know if there's too much grief, or just the fact that it's tough and that you're not alone. We wrote this thing. Here's a QR code. People can scan it. They can get it sent right to their email when they do. This is not us selling. We just figured we'd help. And we wrote this content anyway for the website. So we figured you guys could use it. Who's going to tell you to go scratch? You just built me something to give my customers that I don't have right now in a time of need for them. Now, that's an extreme example, but bring that back to people have needs. People type in things into search engines. Don't wait around for them to find your stuff. They will over time if you do it right. But what says that just because I realize people search it this way, I have to wait for people to rank for it? I don't have to. If I know there's an audience and I know there's a need and I'm a business that knows this because I'm a business and I sell people stuff and I've been in business long enough to understand the needs of my consumer, then go help them. Provide them the content you did here and turn it into that. Like,
So,
that's not a problem. Go do a quick
right.
social on it,
Exactly.
right?
So you
Like,
have all these channels from email, maybe it's like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. When does someone like have like one platform? So they put all like their eggs like in one basket for that one platform, you think?
you can do it. I mean, it depends on
Should
what your
someone
audience
do it or
is.
no?
I personally don't ever spend my money all in one place on one thing.
Huh.
Just not the way I think of one.
Fair enough.
Like, I could you hit it big? Sure, I could win the lottery tomorrow too, but I'm not going to bank on that as my method to become wealthy, right? I'll still play the lotto, but I'm going to invest in things. I'm going to do other things that are an option. I don't put it all in that one basket. Now, again, that's a luxury, okay? If you don't have enough money and you don't have enough capability, again, to go out and do these other things, don't spread yourself super thin. Get
Right.
something right, get it right for long enough that it starts generating revenue, and then have a roadmap to what that means. But remember, what you created for one, you can repurpose for another.
Kind of, right? Because they're very
In
different
many
platforms too, right?
Right, but in many cases, listen, stuff like Canva makes it stupid easy now to reformat things for different social stuff. So it's like automation exists everywhere. Now, does it mean you're going to get the most followers in the world? No, it doesn't. Like, I've got a lot more followers on my personal account in LinkedIn, something close to 30,000. And my company VibeLogic has 1,000 followers. We just hit it yesterday, and I still put out a post celebrating it. Like, it it's kind of meta that I'm putting meta on LinkedIn, but I'm putting a post out about how many followers we got, and I even say it's a vanity metric. I get it, but hopefully it's access to 1,000 more people potentially that we can get good marketing and good messaging and leadership and other things in front of. Great.
Right.
And if other people want to join that, by all means, follow us on LinkedIn. But again, it doesn't matter. Like, the point is, your business, unless you're in this volume game where you're a direct to consumer and you just have to constantly blah, 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 I sell, like, if that's not your world, then start thinking about solving people's problems and talk about it in the context of what they need and the way they express themselves. A dentist office who talks about a bridge, I don't know what a bridge is, but a gap in someone's teeth, they know what that is. Don't expect them to look up the solution. They're looking up the problem.
Right.
Like, help them. That's what they're looking for. The internet is a cold, dark, lonely place. It's filled with AI bullshit, and people have more choice now than they ever have in the history of humanity. You think you're going to make a mistake in almost every corner of your purchase process because there might be something better out there. And I like to say, I don't think the color of the shovel really matters, but I can buy it in about 1,000 different colors. Know why, but I can. So if I sit here trying to pick in Amazon which color of my shovel, I could spend a hell of a lot of time trying to figure out why the price changes by 2 cents when it's a certain color. But what am I doing? Right? I need to move on with my day. There's too many decisions. That's the problem, is we're hit with too much information as humans right now, and the decision fatigue is real. People want people to just help them. That's why they're going to default to agents and go, you're going to see Siri is going to step up in a major way soon, backed by Gemini. Apple figured it out. They knew not to play that game. Why should we go build an AI? We have access to all the data. The data is more important than the agent. If you don't have the data, you can't connect the dots. So here's my question to everyone else who's listening right now. What dots do you have in your business that you can connect in a way that's meaningful for your consumer, that doesn't necessarily sell to them, but solves and provides unique value? Figure that out. You won't have a problem selling.
Wow. Got the mic. Well, you have been fantastic. I'm curious for like your last thoughts or advice, what that would be to the audience.
Okay. If you're not sick of my voice yet, because I kind of am, but
No, no.
let's get real for a second. Not that we haven't been real this whole time. Okay. Forgive my French, guys. Shit's about to get real. Okay. It's about to get real in a real way. And I mean that as in, we still don't understand what the hell AI is in its full capacity. It's disrupting and it's being scapegoated in a lot of ways too, for reasons people are getting laid off that frankly make no sense. Half the large companies, by the way, that you're hearing AI and stuff are taking away jobs. They're making mistakes letting people go. It's kind of like Doge, let go of all the people who knew how to press the nuclear button and then said, oh, wow, we made a mistake, and then hired them all back. At least they hired them all back. There's a lot of people and a lot of companies right now that are merging and doing stuff, and they think there's redundancies, and then they don't realize that Matthew and I, when we've worked together for 5 years, there were obstacles in the business that were never documented, right? They were just bitched about, and we told our boss, and our boss never did anything about it. And it was a running joke that came between him and I. And over time, the whole team knew about it, but whatever. And every time we need to get this certain thing accomplished, instead of sending the email like we're supposed to, whatever, and it falls into this thing and doesn't really, he calls me or he slacks me and he tells me, and I do the thing I'm supposed to do, and I do it 6 different ways because it doesn't work way 1. And if you work it way 1 and way 2, it fails, and way 3 will never work. All of that is tribal knowledge. It all exists within companies. It's not documented. And when you try and throw AIs at that problem, they will never solve it, ever, ever. So that stuff, businesses would like to think that they run like machines, that all the cogs fit nicely and neatly. Humans aren't good cogs. We aren't neat. We work around problems. That's what we do. Okay. You could say AI can try and figure its way around problems. Sure. But we already know where all the skeletons are hidden. We already know how that works. And unless you're able to extract all that somehow out of people's heads, you're not going to have the capability to just remove humanity from the picture. So while all this is going on, stop focusing on the shiny objects. Get back to the basics. What does my business do? Why do we do what we do? Is it clear why we do what we do? Is that part of every part of my business? If I audit my business right now, can I follow that to the person who's taking a call at the front desk? Is it clear why we do what we do on that call? When someone calls for a bill, is it clear why we do what we do? Are you maniacal about that? Because that's the difference between building something that lasts and something that's memorable and something that has a legacy versus one of the millions of businesses, frankly, that have graced the world, had an internet site for a hot second, and then failed. Most businesses fail within 5 years. Anyone who's tried building a business, God bless you, like myself, you really are doing God's work. It's hard to do. There's a reason why less people are successful at this. There's also a reason why you chose to do it. You have to keep reminding yourself, especially on certain days. I know I have to. But the reality is, you're doing it for a reason. If you're not willing to get that reason across, it's going to be really hard for people to buy into you.
Dang. If people want to find you online, where can they go to?
Okay, so one, my name's super hard to spell, but it's StephanBajaio. If you look me up in Google, if you look me up in ChatGPT, if you look me up in Claude, you're going to find me. You're going to find my content. You're going to find my own website, which is stephanbajaio.com. More importantly, you'll find VibeLogic, the company I'm the CEO and co-founder of, which helps companies understand what I've been talking about here, understand how they can perform and what else is showing up so they know where to place bets, right? You're not always the answer, but someone always is answering. So if you know who's answering, you can decide, oh, maybe we should buy, borrow, or build our way into the conversation. We help clients and companies do that. We do that from really enterprise companies all the way down to mom and pops. I love working with companies. I love helping companies. I enjoy that very much. It's where I get my dopamine, as you can probably tell. Also, look us up on LinkedIn. Obviously, follow VibeLogic. VibeLogic.com, like I said, is the website. VibeLogic on LinkedIn. Please follow me on LinkedIn. Engage with me. Please don't sell me anything. I'm not in the business of buying anything. That my other inbox in LinkedIn is completely full and it's spilling over into my normal inbox. But reach out. Don't hesitate. Like, you'd be amazed how many people that come on a podcast like this and try to drop knowledge bombs as much as they can. Hopefully one thing I've said today has helped you. But if it has, reach out and say so. You'd be amazed how much this often feels like we're yelling into a void and no one takes the time to be like, hey, I really appreciate what you said there, or this really resonated with me, without saying like, oh, and by the way, I can help you obtain more. Do you need more clients in order to like, get rid of that nonsense. But like for real, do that. Connect with people. This is, again, you don't need to chat GPT the quick note that's like, hey, dude, I really loved when you talked about the pet thing or growth of a business or what's coming next. It's great to connect with people. It's great to feel like I can help, and that hopefully spending time doing this stuff is not to build my assets and money. It's really just hopefully to help people that need it.
Yeah. Well, go find them, you guys, online. Thank you all for being here. And until next time, stay hungry.